Jim Burnett of NASA's Lewis Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio. During this fifth program of the history of space travel, we'll see the first half of the film Friendship 7. The film is about John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth, and about the people and machines that helped make the flight possible. Here at NASA's Lewis Research Center in Cleveland, we take special pride in Glenn. He is from New Concord, Ohio, about 100 miles from the Lewis Center. And Glenn did some early training at Lewis, as did the other 6 original American astronauts. But the Lewis Center is better known for its work in developing rocket propulsion. Let's take a minute to look at a relatively new kind of space propulsion. This is the electric rocket engine, or the ion engine. It has taken some years to develop the technology. The ion engine is carried into space by conventional rockets, and once in space, the ion engine can be used to hurl spacecraft to comets and planets about 10 times more efficiently than chemical rockets in terms of fuel consumption. This electric rocket engine work at Lewis is an example of the kind of technology needed for future space travel. Now, let's go back to 1962 when John Glenn first orbited the Earth.
Astronaut John Glenn into orbit around the world.
Reporting to the British Broadcasting Corporation in London. The 0 hour for Colonel Glenn's launch.
En Floride, où une fois de plus, les dernières minutes de départ de l'astronaute américain.
Stato a contare I minuti per l'astronauta americano John Glenn al Cape Canaveral, Florida.
يتحضر مرة ثانية لدورته حول العالم.
佛罗里达州坎纳法谷太空航行员约翰·格林。
州ケープカナベラルではアメリカの宇宙飛行士ジョン・グレンの早期を目前に
Proyecto Mercurio han reportado que ambos, el astronauta y su cohete Friendship 7,
and report the astronaut's condition as excellent. Colonel Glenn at Cape Canaveral. And then astronaut Glenn will... Weather still remains the big question mark, but the countdown for
John Glenn, the countdown is again underway.
Today is February 20th, 1962. And today, if all goes well, the men here will launch an American astronaut into orbit around the world in a spacecraft which he has named Friendship 7. Friendship 7 awaits its pilot. And the pilot has waited 3 years for this day. 3 long, arduous years of study, of training, of waiting. And now he's ready. His name is John Glenn. Astronaut John Glenn of New Concord, Ohio, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Marine Corps. Married, father of 2 teenage children. Glenn has been a pilot over half of his 40 years, has flown in 2 wars, and is a veteran test pilot who 5 years earlier established a transcontinental flight record as the first man to average supersonic speeds across America. He volunteered for spaceflight, is one of 7 astronauts selected for Project Mercury, the man in space program directed by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. two teammates have pioneered the way into space for Glenn. Astronauts Alan Shepard and Virgil Grissom tested the Mercury spacecraft on trailblazing suborbital missions, proving the equipment and pushing the program to the threshold of orbital flight. And now, it's Glenn's turn.
Ready for pressurization?
Now to Glenn falls the challenge of man's next advance into space, for he has been chosen to cross the threshold gained by Shepard and Grissom and to orbit the world. So the countdown continues for John Glenn. And it continues beyond this room for Friendship 7. And it continues this moment around the world. These are John Glenn's ground-based co-pilots, men he knows well, with whom he's trained, and in whose judgment his life is entrusted this day. They are the flight controllers, and from the Mercury Control Center, within view of the launch complex, they make the decisions, issue the commands that will govern the course of the mission. To these men throughout the flight will flood the facts needed for decision. The scope of their responsibility of the entire operation defies comprehension. Now, this very instant, the countdown for flight continues around the world, on 3 continents, on islands, in ships and planes, in lands where it's summer and tomorrow is near, in lands where it's winter, and this day is just beginning.
Roger, how about you recovery? Recovery's go. Roger, recovery. Roger, CTC, Mercury Control Center is go.
Northeast of Cape Canaveral, 1,000 miles into the Atlantic, dawn's early light spills over the British Crown colony of Bermuda, and Station 2 in the Mercury network proceeds with the countdown. The tracking and telemetry stations, 18 in all, form an avenue of electronic checkpoints around the world to monitor and communicate with Friendship 7 as it passes overhead.
Okay, this is Bermuda. Okay, this is Bermuda. Roger. Telemetry, M&O.
If radar is the eyes of the station, then telemetry is the ears. Each second, telemetry will hear and record nearly 2,000 items of information radioed down from Friendship 7. And in the months to come, engineers and scientists will find in telemetry records the answers needed for the bolder space explorations of the future.
Displays and recorders have been calibrated. Roger, thank you. Flight, this is M&O. Go ahead, M&O. All subsystems status green. Roger, M&O. Understand all systems green.
Latitude, 5 degrees north. Longitude, 10 degrees west. A spot in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Africa. And Station 3, the Rose Knot, waits under the late morning sun for John Glenn. Operating out of Trinidad, Rose Knot will communicate with Friendship 7.
Operation, this is Bridge. We're proceeding at slow speed at about 5 knots. The course is 198 through, over.
Beyond the Mercury station on Gran Canaria Island, in the Spanish archipelago off of the African coast, It's midday at Station 5 in Kano, Nigeria, deep in the continent of Africa. Flight data recorded here at Kano and at Zanzibar on Africa's east coast will relay through this transmitting station to London and then on to America. Far to the southeast of Kano, beyond the Zanzibar station, the ship's bell of the coastal sentry tolls the twilight of day in the emptiness of the Indian Ocean. To the east, some 2,500 miles from the coastal sentry, dusk blankets the network's 8th station at Mushay, near Perth, Western Australia, halfway around the world from Cape Canaveral.
And the printout, code display. Okay, that's fine. Let's just tweak it up on here.
Today, February 20th, is fast fading over the Australian tracking sites at Mushay and Woomera. And when Glenn arrives, tomorrow will greet him. But north and east across the Pacific, far beyond the Mercury station on the coral atoll called Canton Island, February 20th is just minutes old on Hawaii's garden island of Kauai. And there, men prepare for the arrival of Friendship 7.
On board site and ready for a 165 check. All roger.
The transmitter is good.
All roger.
Eastward again, deeper into the day that will soon awaken over the Americas. Eastward to the Gulf of California and to the Mercury station at Guaymas, Mexico.
Real good, just waiting for liftoff. MNOTM, status green, proceeding with pre-pass calibrations.
North of Mexico, in the pre-dawn along the west coast of the United States, the mountaintop station at Point Arguello, California, waits out the long countdown, ready to track John Glenn.
Roger, Arcade. What is the present count? Roger.
Southeast now, to the farmlands of Texas, where the station at Corpus Christi continues its preparations for flight.
Guaymas, Cal, in Texas, please. Affirmative. Roger. All systems, would you please commence pre-flight calibrations at this time since the countdown is progressing normally? Advise me when you have completed them.
Far to the north and east of Corpus Christi beats the heart of the worldwide Mercury network, the computing and communication center that bonds it into a working entity. This is the Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. Through here funnels the voice and teletype communications that link the global stations to Mercury control. The computers enable men to reach judgments within the flashes of time allowed for control of a spacecraft that moves faster than a brain can react. Throughout the flight, the computers will generate recommendations on whether the mission should continue or be aborted. They will determine locations of the spacecraft, the time it should begin re-entry, the point at which it will land. And the most vital of these findings will be transmitted instantaneously to Cape Canaveral. Around the world, all is ready. The men, the stations, the space vehicle. And now reporters learn from the astronaut's information officer if the most vital of all elements is ready, the man himself, John Glenn. What are the thoughts of a man about to rocket into history? Glenn is the astronaut, the man who will challenge space. But he is just one member of an international scientific endeavor that requires the genius and skills of some 40,000 other men and women scattered throughout the world. From the engineers and technicians who produce the space vehicle to the crews now preparing to launch it. From the tracking experts who will chart his voyage around the globe to the sailors now waiting at sea to recover him. Behind this day stands years of preparation, of research and testing, of planning and training. And the purpose of it all is knowledge. Knowledge of space and of how effectively man and spacecraft can function together in its hostile environment. Knowledge that will serve as the basis for space explorations of the future. Hard-won knowledge of benefit to all men, bought by sacrifice and dedication and courage. Just a handful of minutes remain until the spacecraft crew on the service tower call for the pilot of Friendship 7.
Okay, John? You're ready.
The sound of John Glenn's life. His heartbeat, you hear, will flow from Friendship 7 throughout the flight, informing those on the ground how well he endures the trials ahead. Into the soft light of this Florida dawn emerges Friendship 7, making its debut to the day of its destiny. The Mercury Atlas stands alone, waiting to depart this Earth. 250,000 pounds of rocket with thrust equal to 3.5 million horsepower, all to hurdle a 168-pound astronaut into space.
All stations, gantry is in launch position. AMR, CNS band beacons are on. Start interrogation in 1 minute.
The countdown sweeps closer to the moment of flight, and recovery teams here at the Cape and around the world ready themselves to aid the astronaut. Above all else, John Glenn's safety is paramount, the dictating factor in all planning. Never in all of history have so many people shared, without censorship, an adventure of such magnitude. Through all news media in all languages, all the peoples of the world are witness to this exploration of space, to its success or failure.
T-minus 15 minutes. Mark, T-minus 15 minutes and counting. There will be no smoking and a blockhouse until further notice.
Okay, this is Bermuda.
Go ahead.
We just logged on our computer. Stand by for an estimate.
Roger. Standing by, Bermuda.
Estimate 5 minutes, Kate. 5 minutes.
You want us to continue to count?
I suggest you take it down to T-minus 7. We may have it by then.
Roger. You want us to hold, Bermuda?
We would like to hold at 7 and rerun a B-sim. We lost our main power on the computer and we just want to check that nothing else has gone wrong.
What do you estimate?
Somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, Cape.
Can't you expedite?
Make it 5.
All stations are holding at 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Estimate 5 minutes.
We just got to go.
You ready? Are you ready to continue?
Green. Okay, go ahead. Green. Go ahead, Cape.
Your attention, please. On my mark, we will pick up the count at T-minus 6 minutes and 30 seconds and counting.
The time nears, and soon, this Earth path indicator in the capsule will begin showing John Glenn his changing positions above the world.
Mark, 57 seconds. Stand by to start EPI on my mark. Roger. Minus 50. 3, 2, 1, mark. Roger, EPI is minus 45. Minus 40. Status check, pressurization. Locks tanking. Have a blinking high level light. You are go. Water systems, go. Range operations. Mercury capsule, go. All pre-start panel lights are correct. The ready light is on. Eject Mercury umbilical. Oil evacuate. Mercury umbilical clear. Mercury evacuate. Lights on. All recorders to fast. T-minus 18 seconds and counting engine start.
winds be with you, Thomas.
Good Lord, ride all the way. Godspeed, John Glenn. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Clock is started. 102, 101, oxygen 78, 100, amps 27. Roger, loud and clear, flight path is good, 69. Seconds. 65, it still looks real good from here. 70 seconds, leaving a nice vapor trail now. It looks real fine. Looks good back, GE's got it. 80 seconds and looks real good from here.
During the next episode in our history of space travel, we'll see the conclusion of Friendship 7. Until then, this is Jim Burnett saying goodbye from NASA's Lewis Research Center in Cleveland, Ohio.